Hi, James Lee Jobe here, Poet Laureate for the City of Davis with the weekly poetry reading. Something I've been doing because we can't have poetry readings during the pandemic right now. And this week I've got the poems coming from China, and I've been struggling with this pronunciation. Yu Xiuhua. Yu Xiuhua. Now, my wife, who's Chinese American, helped me with it, and I did some online research too. And I remember my mother-in-law, who was actually from China, used to tell me that my Chinese sounded like I was from Texas. So there's that. But anyway, Yu Xiuhua lives in a small village in central China where she farms and raises chickens and rabbits. And she has palsy. She has cerebral palsy due to a prolonged birth. And she didn't start writing until, a little bit later in life than most of us start. But in 2014... she became a household name in China for her poem, which I will read. I crossed half of China to lay you. And a year later, she published 2 books. And 3 of the 4 poems I'm going to give to you are from the book called Moonlight Rests on My Left Hand. And she also dealt with an abusive marriage. And, it's not been easy for her. But her poems are getting translated into various languages, and she's going to be kind of popular around the world. So, 4 poems by Yu Xiuhua, and the first one, I might do these a couple of times. We'll see. The first one is called My Dog, Little Wu. When I limped out of my courtyard, it followed. We walked by the vegetable garden, the field ridge, toward the north to my grandmother's house. I tripped and fell in the field. It wagged its tail. I extended my hand. It licked the blood off. He was drunk. He said there was a woman in Beijing. She was better looking than me. When there was no work to do, they went dancing. He liked women who danced and liked watching their butts swinging back and forth. He said they moaned in bed. It sounded nice, unlike me, who was soundless and always covered her face. I ate my meal in silence, calling, Little Woo, and tossing it some scraps. It wagged its tail, barking exuberantly. When he yanked my hair, banged my head on the wall, Little Woo kept wagging his tail. To someone who was not afraid of pain, he was powerless. Only when we walked to the back of my grandmother's house did I recall. She had passed many years ago. I don't think I will read it twice. It's difficult subject matter, to say the least. And the connection she makes, the leap she makes in this poem, are pretty incredible, I think. Of course, I can't know it in the Chinese. This is the English translation. But the ending there, it really reaches out and grabs you. And in a way, it's kind of... it brings up some Bukowski for me. This is the one that put her into the public eye, and it's called I Crossed Half of China to Lay You. In fact, to lay you or to get laid by you is the same, nothing but the force of 2 bodies banging against each other, nothing but flowers erupting from the force, nothing but spring virtualized by the flowers, making us believe that life has been unfolded again. I'm going to do that line. Nothing but spring virtualized. Yeah, that's where I went wrong. Nothing but spring virtualized by the flowers, making us believe that life has been unfolded again. In half of China, everything is happening. Volcanoes erupting. Rivers drying up, some political prisoners and homeless people whom nobody cares about, elks and red-crowned cranes always being targeted at gunpoint. I've crossed gun forests and bullet showers to lay you. I have squeezed numerous nights into one dawn to lay you. I have run numerous selves into one to lay you. Naturally, I might be sidetracked by butterflies and regard praises as spring, regard a village that resembles Hangdian as my hometown. And all these are the necessary reasons why I am going to lay you. Again, these are the poems of Yu Xiuhua. An evening in early winter. The sunlight is retreating from the courtyard, slowly, with many pauses, like sobbing. The medicine pot on the stove gurgles and grumbles dully. The scent of herbs gushes out, beating her old, sickly body. She crouches in the courtyard, curled up like a piece of leaf. The blade inside her body also curled up. She tries to smooth it out, to cut out a piece of old love. This old disease always flares up in winter. Relying solely on Chinese herbs, only symptoms are cured, not the cause, but she can tell all the herbs by their scents. Out of 12 herbs, she picks shall return and tosses it into the heap of fallen leaves. And the final poem. I please this world with pains. Pains, P-A-I-N-S. I please this world with pains. My body is old. When I notice it for the first time, there's no way to turn back time. Many parts of it start to ache, the stomach, the arms, the legs, the fingers. I suspect that I have done many evil deeds in this world, speaking harsh words to the withered flowers. I suspect I have favored the nights and despised the mornings. But it's okay after all. Some pains are negligible. Being abandoned, being made lonely, being adopted by a long desolation. These, I'm too embarrassed to say. I haven't truly loved them enough. Let's do this one more time, this poem. I please this world with pains. Her pain pleases the world. My body is old and I notice it for the first time. There is no way to turn back time. Many parts of it start to ache. The stomach, the arms, the legs, the fingers. I suspect that I have done many evil deeds in this world, speaking harsh words to the withered flowers. I suspect I have favored the nights and despised the mornings. But it's okay after all. Some pains are negligible. Being abandoned, being made lonely, being adopted by a long desolation. Imagine that. Being adopted by a long desolation. But it's okay after all. Some pains are negligible. And she lists them for us, doesn't she? Being adopted by a long desolation. These I am too embarrassed to say. I haven't truly loved them enough. The poems of Yu Xiuhua. Yu Xiuhua. If you can pronounce it better than me, please feel free to write it phonetically down in the comments. I would appreciate that. I'm James Lee Jobe. Stay safe. Keep your distance. Wear your mask around people. That's all for now. See you next week.